Hello, Squirrel Tribe. So in the past 24 hours, a lot has taken place. The biggest thing being, and I'm sure you guys will agree with me, that Georgia Appeals Court pauses lower court proceedings in Trump election case. Now, the order means the case against the former president and 8 of his co-defendants, accusing them of a criminal conspiracy to overturn his defeat in the state, will almost certainly not be scheduled for trial before the fall election or even the new year. The appeals court is reviewing a request from the defendants to disqualify Fulton County District Attorney Fannie T. Willis. That one's huge, right? Now, we also have breaking news. This is from New York Times. 2 American astronauts reached orbit aboard the Boeing-built Starliner after years of costly delays for the capsule. After 2 previous launch attempts were called off, the spacecraft lifted off with people on board for the first time. Now, let me be the first one to say that given the recent issues with Boeing airplanes, I don't know why any people would want to go into Boeing outer space. Not quite sure there. Now, yesterday we talked about the fact that Mexico has its first female president, and today, less than 24 hours after that conversation, Mexican mayor killed hours after first woman elected president. Gunmen have killed the female mayor of a town in Mexico just hours after the country celebrated the election of Claudia Sheinbaum as the nation's first woman president. Yolanda Sanchez was shot in the town of Cotija, because the J is not like pronounced. Anyway, which she had governed since September of 2021. She was the first woman to be elected to the post. Widespread violence against politicians has overshadowed Mexico's general election, which saw 2 women run for the presidency. And then we know one of them was elected. Now, also, let's see, Kathy Hochul halts congestion pricing in a stunning 11th hour shift. For those of you who are not aware, weeks before New York was to charge motorists to enter Manhattan's business district, Governor Kathy Hochul postponed the program, citing economic concerns. That is a huge deal, and a lot of backlash is happening right now because of her decision to pause this, that I'm pretty sure it'll pick back up, and we will talk about that later. But another thing that has happened recently is Ford. Hold on. So Ford has rescued a Detroit train station, and it's basically going to change it into something extra like spectacular, which is Ford's plan, right? So they bought this old Michigan Central Station in 2018 for $90 million. That's a lot of money in 2018, right? Especially knowing today it costs even more than that because inflation, right? And they will spend millions more to create a hub of businesses focused on transportation. So here's the outside of this train station, right? This is what they are working with. So today is June 5th, right? Tomorrow, June 6th, is actually going to be a massive concert that they are putting on for like the grand opening of this, with Eminem and other people are going to be there. It's an outdoor concert. The station itself was completed in 1913, saw more than 4,000 passengers daily at its peak in the 1940s. It closed in 1988, eventually becoming a magnet for scrappers, vandals, graffiti artists, urban explorers, and the homeless. You guys can see here, basically the inside has been destroyed a little, not destroyed, but obviously the graffiti is big and parts here have been messed up. And of course they have barbed wire and things on the outside to keep people from getting in, although obviously it didn't work too well. But what they plan on doing, William Ford, the executive chairman of Ford Motor Company, runs the company. His great grandfather started in 1903, which some of you may know, especially if you happen to be Ford people. Ford people know a lot about Ford. Chevy people know a lot about Chevy. Depending on what cars you're into, your lack of, or your knowledge of the company is going to be like extensive, right? Now, according to this, we want Detroit to once again be a destination where the future is invented and preserve its title as the Motor City for generations to come. Because we know Detroit kind of lost its way a while ago when it came to the cars, and had to have the bailouts and all this other stuff, and they're still trying to like rebuild themselves. In all, Ford will spend nearly $1 billion to create a 30-acre campus, ultimately with thousands of workers, with the station as the centerpiece, along with other buildings the company owns, including New Lab, a former book depository next door that opened last year and currently houses 97 startups and about 600 workers. The company hopes the station, in its vibrant urban setting, Boeing will lure top-notch talent at a perplexing time for the fiercely competitive auto industry as it sorts out its future with autonomous, electric, and hybrid vehicles. The company expects most of the campus to come online in 3 to 5 years, with the first tenants moving into the station in June and some Ford workers moving in this fall. And they plan to have a lot here. According to this, they want to have a hub of collaboration and innovation with its workers and independent startups and businesses involved in mobility and transportation issues. Additionally, it hopes to make the station a community gathering place with retail shops, a destination restaurant, an event space, a hotel, and possibly Amtrak service nearby in the future. That is a huge deal for people. You got to think right now, there are so many cities where people are fleeing, they are leaving, and Detroit was one of those for a while where nobody wanted to be there because crime, because lack of jobs, because lack of, good housing, things like that. When you stop and think about it, sorry, I had to pause for a second because there was a car backing out this close to my Jeep. So when you stop and think about it, a lot of cities could benefit from something like this, from some big hub coming in there, from some large company. Unfortunately, as much as we want to say that these huge corporations cause issues, when these huge corporations have the money and the ability to bring jobs back, that is definitely a positive, right? You have to think about what happens when a city basically dies, right? When there's too much crime, so retail spaces pull out. When there's a lot of crime or lack of jobs, so the people who live there have to leave. What happens? The taxes still have to be paid, but now the people who are left behind have to pay more to make up for everybody that left. The businesses and the citizens who have left, everybody left behind pays more. And then what that does is it makes it so that you are broker than you need to be because you're having to pay extra for whatever's happening. And even then, because there's less people still trying to pay more, not everything gets done that needs to get done. So we have more and more cities across the US right now that are slowly deteriorating, slowly dying because lack of companies coming in or lack of people moving in. So for Ford to go in and do this, to build this out, to spend this kind of money on there, to open up retail shops, to open up other forms of automotive businesses is huge for the area. Hopefully it will bring in more people, and the more people it brings in and the more businesses it brings in, hopefully that means it will give some sort of relief to the people who are already in Detroit, who are paying out the wazoo for taxes and for everything else. Hopefully this will give them some sort of relief, and it will allow them to no longer live paycheck to paycheck or to worry about things like that, and have the ability to maybe nest egg a little bit of money, save a little bit of money, or make some different kinds of changes to how they are living, whether that is to be able to move into someplace a little bit nicer because they can save some money. You just never know. But I think what's happening there is absolutely great. And I personally, I love Ford. I also like Chevy. You can like both. I like all kinds of cars. I'm a car girl in general, but I do like a lot of different Ford vehicles. I do not like the electric Mustang and the fact they gave it the name Mustang because it's not a Mustang. That still pisses me off, and a lot of people don't understand, but it irks the crap out of me. But I think this is great. For those of you who happen to be in the Detroit area, I would love to know your thoughts on this. Is this something that you think is good and going to be good for the community, or do you see it as a negative for the community? I don't know what the downsides would be except for more people moving in, because that could also be a downside for some, I'm sure. But I look at it as we're going to bring more money to the area, and that could be helpful to the people that are still there. That's just my thought on that. So anyway, that is it for right now. I love you all, Squirrel Tribe. Have a great rest of your day. See you later. Bye.